And we start getting into the meat of it. We're going to compile the list of pages that we have in this document. So what this code does is it goes for each of the attachments in doc_attachments that we've just retrieved. Look in the key and see if it begins with pages slash. This is just in case there happens to be, this protects against if we want to keep the original PDFs attached to the documents. For example, if I attached, uploaded another attachment that was something.pdf, or essentially if it's anything we want, and if it's not in the pages directory, it won't be counted as a page. And so it just looks through, finds all the entries in attachments that have this key beginning with pages, and it pushes it into the pages array, and then sorts them. This is nice because oftentimes when we generate a group of images from a PDF, they're often enumerated. And we don't have to worry about naming here. We just need to know that as long as when you take all the names of the files and you do a sort on them according to JavaScript sort, if it turns out in the right order, then it'll end up in the right order in this application. Other applications like the archive.org reader, that actually requires some naming conventions of the files themselves. That's because they don't have CouchDB. They don't make the assumption they have CouchDB available to them. It's just a more pure JavaScript app. So let's continue on. Here I calculate what the current page is that we should display. So I look at the parameter page, and if that's it, then it comes back as a string, so I parse it into an integer, and this page variable becomes what was listed here. There's this other thing where I'm looking for the submit page part. This is broken. But it's the way that we figure out if we're trying to be on a specific page through the submit form. I just need some work. I have this long explanation of a to-do here from a long time ago, and it's simply talking about how I'm making an assumption here that might be bad for some devices. I'm setting the width of the images to the width of the screen. So when depending on how a browser works, if you try to zoom up on it, it might not ever be able to zoom. This is something that we'll have to look into, keep our eyes on, but from our tests so far, we seem to be not having much of an issue. It's a tricky game, but doesn't seem to be a real issue at the moment, so not a real to-do. So the first thing, to display the page, the first thing I do is I take the view div and I hide it, and then I add this HTML to it of an image tag using the pages, and then this is all chained together using jQuery, and then I show it with a slide given the direction. I use I think this is using jQuery UI or something in the jQuery library where I can have this effect of slide during a show. I take the direction from the URL parameter of slide. We know that direction because in this, you'll see in later code that I know that when you click on the right button, that it should be a slide of left. or right. My bad. And when you click on this one, it should be a slide of left. All right. So, anyways, and then I give this little timeout. I don't remember why. 600 milliseconds. I wait 600 milliseconds to do this. I think there's some positioning stuff that I'm doing with these buttons. It'll take some investigation. But yeah, I think this is important for that. Here I display the page number. This page, remember, is determined. Is actually, this is according to the array entry. So we have to make it human readable. It's, humans don't start counting at 0. We can't start counting at 1. So we have to add 1 for the read page. This is actually what we're going to display to the user here and here. This is talking about that offset stuff that I was telling you about, where this is actually not page 3. It's probably Roman numeral 2. But this code doesn't do anything right now, really. So this is the displaying of the page numbers. So it hides it. I could have chained this together, but I decided to put it on different lines for some reason. In this case, there's no better way. There's no real good way to do it. There's no right way, rather. That's what I meant. Actually, this looks better than when I chained it up here. Yeah. Chaining is cool, but it's not necessary. I suppose some people, when they chain, they do things like this. Because it's really confusing to have this all in one line. And this semicolon is totally unnecessary. So, another way to do it. But instead, I just do it more verbosely here. Hide the page numbers, fill them with HTML, fade them in. Kind of looks nice. All right, now to the next and previous URLs, these things. Like I said, these are URLs you can see down here at the bottom of the screen. This one is slide right and page equals 3. This one over here is going to be slide left and page equals 1. And this is the code that generates that. Here I set for the anchor tags that have a next class. I set the href path, a bunch of stuff, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I've got some more timeouts here. It looks like I'm doing some careful timing of when things render. And this part, now I know this could be completely scrapped because it's talking about caching the next and previous page. I think I originally designed this as an Ajax-y enabled application that when you click the next button, instead of loading a new page, it would just delete out the DOM element and then bring in the next one. I don't remember exactly why I gave up on that route. There may have been some performance issues, but it may have just been the code I was writing just wasn't working the way I wanted it to. I think there may have been some performance issues. Again, this was 2 years ago, so I don't remember that well. So that's the gist of this. Not the prettiest code, but fairly simple. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me via email, or we could set up a Skype call as well if you guys have some more questions. That might help just if we screen share. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you soon.